Welcome, Wildcats 2024. I'm Evan, and I work for Sexually Safe, a nationwide organization focused on eliminating sexual assault from college campuses. Many of you might be thinking that it's strange to be talking about sexual violence prevention during a global pandemic. Maybe you can't imagine being closer than 6 feet with your fellow Wildcats, much less being sexual with another person right now. There's a joke in here about Corona beers and Corona fear, but I can't figure it out. Anyone? Yeah. Oh, I mean, that was rhetorical, but I'm sorry, everyone. I thought I had turned the chat function off. Zoom's kind of new to me, still figuring it out. Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house. Yeah, this is strange. Let's just dig in then. Sexually Safe. Preventing Assault. Student by Student. By Evan Singh. That's me. Only you can prevent sexual assault. Now, this is kind of the core focus of our presentation for today. Now, many people think that sexual violence prevention has nothing to do with them. But 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 non-binary people, and 1 in 6 men experience sexual violence. So, this is about you. I think we're having a technical problem.
It's bigger than that, Evan.
Well, what's going on?
This is an intervention.
Yeah, I know. Sexually Safe is an intervention.
No. This whole Smokey the Bear thing, this idea that sexual violence is a personal problem, this presentation, it's not for us.
Not for you? You're not incoming freshmen?
No, we aren't.
You're not Northwestern students.
Oh, yes, we are. We're students at NU performing the roles of other students at NU.
To help you start the conversations we actually need here.
Sorry, let's pause this for a sec.
Okay, let's have a conversation about active and enthusiastic consent. I would love to talk about that.
Totally. I want to talk about the role of men in blocking rape culture. Like, how can we unlearn the toxic ways we're socialized to relate to women and hold each other accountable at the same time? And while we're at it, let's connect that conversation to the conversation we're already having about the role of Greek life on our campus.
Yes, creating communal spaces for growth and healing is valuable, but our student organizations aren't separate from the world in which they exist.
Yeah, but I knew a lot of great guys in frats during undergrad.
Yes, there are some positive and healthy experiences being had in some Greek spaces, but let's not let that invalidate some of the problematic and harmful experiences being had in others.
Right. Part of the problem is that we identify harm by the worst acts done by the worst people, when in reality, it's often the nice guys who get away with harm because they hold social clout and enable these groups of people and systems.
Okay, but can we also talk about how this is so much bigger than Greek life or a few nice guys? So many theater groups and sports teams and social groups have all of these layers built into them.
So you're saying we should just abolish any space where a student might find community on this campus?
No, Evan, of course not. We're just saying there are a lot of layers of complication to this. We don't claim to have all the answers, and we don't expect you to have them either. But we do need to ask the questions together.
Definitely. And in the meantime, I want to talk about the pressure for feminine politeness and not having the tools we need to get clear on our own boundaries and desires, much less say them out loud because we're expected to be nice.
Oh, and how that pressure codes differently depending on race. Niceness is so wrapped up in whiteness and respectability politics, right? It's a totally different trope than the fetishized woman of color exotic that we've been fed. So, how do our sexual scripts play out differently depending on the bodies we move through the world in?
And how do they play out differently depending on gender identity or sexual orientation? I want to talk about transphobia and homophobia as very real forms of violence.
Yes, let's talk about who gets left out of the picture when our collective idea of survivor comes to mind.
Let's talk about believing survivors and centering their experiences.
Let's talk about sexual scripts in general. By scripts, I mean, where did we learn what we learned about how to be intimate with each other?
And how are those lessons turned upside down right now? Can we please talk about how we're writing a new narrative for boundary setting and fluid sharing through social distancing?
Yes, can we please talk about intimacy in the pandemic times?
Dirty talk and cyber sex.
Self-pleasure and masturbation.
Ethical porn.
This is a 20-minute presentation.
Uh-huh.
We barely have enough time to cover the basics.
Okay, we'll prioritize.
Oh, so you're the presenters now.
Don't be so territorial.
Yeah, Evan, learn to think more collaboratively.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
We're whoever you need to imagine us to be.
I don't need to imagine you to be anyone. I don't need you at all.
Oh, you need us.
I need to give this presentation.
What you need to do is dance.
I'm being Zoom bombed by One Direction?
Blushing, Evan. We have been rehearsing for you and our choreography is tight, but no, we're not a boy band.
You did get one thing right, though.
Oh, good.
We are working in sync. We're only as strong as our weakest link.
There is empirical evidence that shows that these are the best practices in stemming violence. Studies indicate that
We're not statistics, Evan. We're people. The problem with your model of how to prevent violence is it's putting the onus on one side of the equation.
Yeah, you're paying attention to what someone can do to avoid being sexually assaulted.
Which has victim blaming written all over it.
As opposed to what we can all do to create a culture where rape and sexual violence have no place.
So this isn't about you or any individual ones of them. It's about us showing up for each other. With the help of CARE, of course.
CARE. That's Northwestern Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Center, right? I have a slide for that. Hold on. Let me just get it up here. Yes. No. CARE, yes. Center for Awareness, Response, and Education.
Center is a little misleading. CARE does have a physical space, but we also offer a ton of resources online and by phone, so you can get confidential distance support during the pandemic and beyond.
Hey, Evan, we're rooting for you.
Let's just stop. Um, and you are?
Kira and Saeed, staff or head magic makers at CARE. Tell the man a little more about yourselves.
CARE is a one-stop shop for any sexual violence-related needs at NU. Rooted in social justice, survivor-centeredness, and sex positivity. Our services are completely free and confidential.
We provide sexual violence prevention training, counseling referrals, support for survivors and their allies, information on sexual health, pleasure, and even relationships.
And a confidential space to share your story where you will be believed and supported. We're typically located on the third floor of Searle, but are living in the digital world right now, like most folks. It's just as easy to connect, though. Students can make video chat or phone appointments via our website.
Is that also where we would report sexual assault if we wanted to?
Nope. That happens through the Office of Equity. We work closely, but Kate holds down the Title IX work.
Kate?
Hey y'all, Kira's right. The Office of Equity is right around the corner from CARE. We're also offering distance support services right now without requiring an investigation, like academic flexibility or changes to living or dining arrangements. And when a report is made, the Office of Equity is really looking at that impacted person to see what they want to have happen next. We're going to reach out to them with some resources and some options. And if they're not interested in an investigation, we can typically honor that request and keep all of their information private. Anyone who goes through a process with our office can have an advisor with them through the whole thing. And that might be somebody like Kira or Saeed from CARE, might be a friend, could even be you, Evan.
Oh, like me, I'm Evan. You're Kate, that's Saeed, and that's Kira. Are there more people waiting in the wings?
Nah, just us.
Oh, and we're not staying. We just wanted to say, hey, the students got this.
Drop in for a visit sometime, Evan. Like he said, we're rooting for you.
You sure there's just no one else ready to bust in from the waiting room or whatever other deep web platform you all organized on?
Just breathe, Evan. You may even start to have some fun.
I'm trying to provide them with concrete tools and strategies.
Oh, we have those. Can we share?
I guess.
We don't move forward like that.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. Would you like us to share some of the violence prevention strategies we've learned at Northwestern, infused with our lived experiences as students here?
Yes, I would.
Consent! Woohoo!
Right, consent, a verbal expression of permission or agreement.
Yes. And there's some other stuff in Northwestern's definition that we love too. Stuff that helps us prioritize communication and pleasure instead of settling for dangerous gray areas. Your I guess wasn't a no, but it also wasn't an active yes.
Oh, let's look at the definition. That'll help. Knowing and active. Consent must demonstrate that all individuals are aware of and agree to the who, what, when, where, and how of the sexual activity, communicated in clearly understandable words or actions.
The absence of no is not a yes, and consent cannot be given if someone is incapacitated.
Voluntary. Consent must be freely given and cannot be the result of force, threats, intimidation, coercion, or fraud.
That includes persistent pressure.
Present and ongoing. Consent to previous sexual activity does not imply consent to later sexual acts. Or, consent to hook up once is not a free future hookup pass till death do you part.
Similarly, consent to one type of sexual activity does not imply consent to other sexual acts. Or saying yes to a finger in the butt doesn't mean oral is okay.
Consent may be withdrawn at any time through clearly understandable words or actions.
Understand?
I think so.
Okay, here's the Spark Notes. Everyone knows everything that's gonna happen and has happily agreed to it.
Oh, and no sex while someone is passed out or incapacitated.
Ever. Period. No cuddling, rubbing, kissing. Definitely no getting naked when someone's asleep without their consent. We don't do that.
Agreed. But to play devil's advocate here, there is a far distance between sex with someone who is passed out and filling out a boundaries checklist before every sexual engagement.
But I'm assuming boundaries weren't your presentation at all, right?
Not as a checklist, no.
Active consent is hot. It's basically pre-touch, really specific dirty talk. Consent is like a desire map. Here's where we're going tonight, and here's where we're not.
I'm a terrible map reader. Missed that batch in Boy Scouts like many of my other cis hetero brothers.
Right. That's because we aren't programmed to know there's more than one road on the map.
It's not that non-cis, non-straight folks aren't socialized. We drink our fair share of the dominant cultural Kool-Aid too, trust me. But because we don't see as many queer and non-binary experiences represented in the media,
we're sometimes more familiar with mapping our own alternative routes. That means being creative with our sexual interactions and relationships.
I want that kind of exploration for everybody. The poly parkway, the kink throughway, the conscious celibacy cul-de-sac, they're all grounds for exploration.
Whether you carve your own path or follow the one in every rom-com ever made, you can still get off wherever you want. There's nothing wrong with pulling over to a rest stop, sleeping it off.
Overworking the metaphor a bit, don't you think?
Poetry is helpful.
So are PowerPoint.
Look, our point is that no matter your gender identity, age, race, sexual orientation, major, or Saturday morning cartoon preference, quality intimacy and good communication go hand in hand, which can get a little harder when alcohol enters the picture.
What's a quicker way to get lost off-road than being wasted?
Seriously?
Poetry.
Look, alcohol can get us kind of tired, you know? I'm not saying no drinking allowed.
A Corona can be nice.
Haha, the moment is past.
I'm just trying to help you out here, buddy.
Some of the best sex I've had has been accompanied by a nice bottle of wine, but rarely a nice handle of vodka.
It makes sense, especially the tired part. I snore. Are you all done yet?
Okay, we've derailed.
Hit the guardrails.
Careened into a ravine and exploded.
like Back to the Future 3. You should know. It's classic. From the 90s.
I'm 27.
Maybe it would help if we did the thing.
The thing? Oh, the thing!
Okay, y'all watch this time. The rest of you down. See you in 10.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
I love this spot.
Me too.
You want some more?
Another one bites the dust. You know, I was the reigning cornhole champion of Ohio for 3 straight years.
Cool. You want to get out of here? I had a negative COVID test last week. Come on, it's kind of heavy on pandemic vibes out here today.
We haven't finished this town and social distance.
Come on, man, let's play another round.
I wouldn't want to embarrass you anymore.
How about a game that keeps you at a farther social distance from all of us?
How about you two play together?
Oh, I can't. Can you be his friend right now? And maybe don't offer to get him more drunk in the process?
Heard. Dude, did she say yes to you being in her space like that?
Mood kill much?
Last time I checked, someone repeating yes to me in an intimate space was not a mood kill.
What? No, it's not. Yes, it. Seriously, let's go. This sucks.
Okay, we tried the whole distract and direct thing. Looks like we're gonna have to bring out the big guns. Dramatize.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Oh, God, I think I'm gonna blow.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, no! Looks like the burrito and weed combo isn't sitting right. Dude, that's her hurl face. We went to mathletes camp together. When she blows, it's like a geyser. Like... Can you hold back her hair from a safe social distance?
Ooh, gross. I'm out of here.
Go on.
I know, I'll talk to him. And I'll stop by with strawberry donuts tomorrow morning.
Gross.
They soak up alcohol like your brain soaks up calculus. Genius.
They really do.
I'm sorry, this is all fine and good.
It
but
really is.
But there aren't always friends around when sexual assault happens or almost happens. A lot of this stuff takes place behind closed doors. I mean, the numbers are staggering. 47% of trans people are sexually assaulted at some point in their lifetime. I mean, 65% of Native, 59% of multiracial, 59% of Middle Eastern, and 53% of Black folks experience sexual violence in their lives. And there are a number of reasons why those survivors might not have immediate access to people they can call and interrupt the problem. I mean, whether it's economic barriers, cultural implications, mental health layers, the list goes on.
Right, Evan.
Right?
Yeah. You're talking about who we protect and who we ignore and silence. Think about it. The image of a sexual violence survivor in our culture is usually white, cis, straight, thin, able-bodied. And yes, those folks experience harm. We believe them too. But that image excludes the painful reality that some communities experience sexual violence disproportionately. Black, brown, trans, disabled, and undocumented folks especially.
Right. Which makes me think about survivors of color, especially Black survivors, and what they might need in terms of community accountability when harm is done. Like if the only option for keeping us safe from rapists is the police, and the police don't feel like a safe option to all of us, where does that leave us? And then that makes me think about restorative justice and how hard and messy that is. But maybe that's what we need, for things to not be so tidy. Regardless, we need to find a way forward that works for all of us. We can't be free if we don't all go together, right?
We can't. But we also can't just rely on community to keep us safe. Isn't there a place for personal responsibility in any of this?
There is?
Right, so how can she stay safe from assholes like you when there's no one else around?
Our point is that it shouldn't just be on her or anyone to keep themselves safe. Our personal responsibility is to create a culture where assholes like the guy I was playing don't exist.
Right, but they do exist. And they do harm every day. This is not a game. I mean, it's not a performance.
It's not, Evan. No one is taking this lightly.
What do you want them to do? I mean, all right, everyone, work's done here. Why don't you go on home to your diaries? And here's a thought. Write down 3 talking points that you would hypothetically use in a hypothetical situation to negotiate your hypothetical boundaries with a hypothetical partner.
Not a bad idea, actually.
Assault has no boundaries. I'm trying to give them concrete tools to keep them safe.
So are we. And we can't do that without each other.
Let's make it concrete then. Instead of what could she have done to keep herself safe? Instead of what were they wearing, or was he drunk, or was she asking for it? How about there is nothing anyone can do ever to deserve harm? It's not your fault.
Instead of, I was getting mixed signals, or she didn't say no, how about waiting for a hell yes?
Instead of consent being a checkbox to mark, how about aiming for the most pleasurable, collaborative sexual experience possible?
Instead of the report was false or the accuser was looking for attention, how about remembering that less than 2% of reports are false and that speaking up in our culture isn't exactly rewarded? How about supporting survivors through the disclosure processes they need instead of doing more harm?
Instead of boys will be boys and locker room talk, how about we hold each other accountable?
Instead of immediately disposing of people who cause harm, how about we hold the possibility of transformation and restoration?
Instead of pushing someone to talk through their trauma or to share their story because it's important right now, how about we let healing take the time it needs?
Instead of you're making too big a deal out of this, how about I believe you?
Instead of why didn't you call the police, how about you have options now?
Instead of fear and isolation, how about you are not alone?
Instead of your healing is on you, how about you are not alone?
Instead of treating ending sexual violence as a personal problem, how about taking on the cultural change that's necessary for us all to live happier, more pleasurable lives for what it is? Community care and collective work. We are not alone.
Instead of you, how about us? You want to shift in the culture and expectations of your community. Do you really think we can expect our peers to care as much for your well-being as you do?
Honestly, I think we have to.
If we don't move from I to we, what changes?
But your question, Evan, is fair. Will people step up?
It's a question for them, I guess.
Right. How do we all create a culture of care at Northwestern?
In our Zoom rooms, our dorm rooms, our classrooms, in all the spaces we share.
What can we do individually
And collectively?
to build a campus that is safe for every one of us? For every Black and Indigenous person of color.
For every trans person.
For every queer person.
Every disabled person.
Every highly sexual or asexual person.
Every undocumented person.
Every unheard or unseen person.
Every strawberry donut eating calculus genius.
Everyone with a friend to walk home with at night. Everyone who walks home alone.
For every ally and every survivor. How do we make a campus that's safe for each of us?